What's up, y'all? This is Courtney. Welcome to another episode of the Undrunken Podcast. I am coming to you with quite a bit of excitement. Over the weekend, I had a chance to meet the Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, the one and only Jason Mewes. And for those of you that don't know, Jason Mewes really struggled with addiction and celebrated 15 years of sobriety on July 2nd. And it was a really, really interesting experience. First of all, I knew this about him, but and as much as I thought it was a widely known thing, he opened by sharing that he has to still share that he's sober, or he gets a lot of offers to go party. And I really thought that that was interesting, right? Like, he is famous, in my opinion, and still has to share that about his lifestyle choices, which I find interesting. Anyhow, so what surprised me most, though, wasn't just how funny and cool he still is, even in sobriety. It's what he shared when we had our one-on-one chat. Um, I let me back up a little bit because through listening to Jay on Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, the podcast, I really found myself questioning my relationship with alcohol and weed, but most certainly with alcohol a lot. And here's this person who I've modeled my whole life after, joking aside, my long term friend. Andrea and I, Dre, you all know her. She's been on, that's like our alter egos, right? It's Nay and the not so silent Dre. And we just always kind of played with that. And we love watching the movies and we're big fans. We follow them and go to shows. And so I really admired that Jason still was him and still had this fun persona through his sobriety, and that he was so human about the struggles, and that I think in a day and time wasn't as popular to talk about it in Hollywood as it is now, where I feel like more actors are coming out and talking about their struggles and their decision to remove alcohol from their life or choosing complete sobriety. Um, and just seeing somebody like him who stays cool without some substances, I don't know, it gave me this sense of like safety, or comfort, I guess. That was a big thing. I never wanted to not be fun. And um, I always put drugs, alcohol, partying, and fun together. And I've said this before, my life is so much more fun now and so much more full without alcohol. Um, you know, it it was interesting. So during our meet and greet, our one-on-one, I told him this. I said, your outspokenness about your sobriety really helped me look at my relationship with alcohol, and that I had been sober from alcohol for almost 2.5 years. And it was like you just immediately saw this wall um, drop. And he goes, oh, and he shared some real personal, like, I guess, the same thing I struggle with, right? Like, it's challenging to be around drunk people. And in his line of work, doing these meet and greets, he said, sometimes it's like people show up and they're a bit much, and like they don't even seem present. And it was really, really fucking cool to connect with him over that. That's such a big struggle. Um, and a struggle of mine. Sorry, I'm just kind of like, I'm still a little starstruck. I've met a handful of celebrities over the years, but for whatever reason, Jason Mewes is one that just leaves me a little ineffable. I don't know another word for it. I just kind of get a little around him. And I mean, yeah, he's good looking. And especially, I will say, 51 years old, dude looks, bro's hot, right? And sobriety plays a big part of that. His skin looks good. He looks healthy, happy. You can tell, he doesn't lose a lot of night's sleep um, and I just think it's really cool to see somebody like him, like this public pressure that he still faces, that he has to talk about being sober, just so that his persona, it's like keeping up with the drinking culture. And he's still so fucking cool, and he's very authentically himself. He still plays this wild character of Jay, which is really so much of him, without needing to use the substances. And like, I don't know. I think maybe there's a little bit of an identity crisis a lot of people have shared when they choose to remove alcohol. Your friends change, what you do with your time changes. Um, but you don't have to change who you are just because you don't drink. And I really felt like Jay lives that. And I don't think that any form of sobriety means losing your edge or your fun side. Um, and I don't know. Maybe you all feel sometimes that there's like this pressure to prove you're still fun, at least in the early days of not drinking. I certainly don't feel that at all now. Um, but that's part of everyday life, like, right? Like, how many times have you had to announce your sobriety? This really got me thinking back to one of my early interviews with Katie, who lives in Costa Rica. And I love what she says when people offer her a drink or anything. She says, "No thanks, I've had enough." And that really says so much in such a way that they're not going to necessarily question it and need to hear your story, and they're not going to ask why, right? Oh, you've had enough. Thanks. Because that's the truth, isn't it? Right? Like, I've had enough. I've had enough booze. I've had enough hangovers. I've had enough blackouts. I've had enough what the hells, anxiety, shame, guilt, all these things that came with drinking, health problems. Like, I mean, my my heart beats stronger. I feel more keen in my fitness, and there was always alcohol tied to that. And there's a lot of people I've known, you know, in their 30s and 40s having pretty significant health problems just because of alcohol. But anyway, so circling back to meeting Jason and how that solidified so much for me, like, I just think if Jay can stay as cool as he fucking is without the substances, maybe we can too. So I don't know. Does this relate to you? Have you had experiences feeling pressure to drink or prove your fun side? Or at some point in your journey, did you meet somebody who kind of gave you that reassurance or that comfort like Jay did for myself? Um, this was the second time meeting him, and both times, like, I don't know. I felt like I was in good company. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoy this episode. Please share it. That's the only way the podcast grows. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good day, great evening. Take care of yourself. Make good choices.